This is part 3 of chapter 7 of the First Global Revolution. In conclusion on this theme, we summarize some suggestions for action. Fear of nuclear war between the superpowers has receded, but limited use of chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons in local wars remains an alarming possibility. It is widely believed that several countries already possess a hidden nuclear capacity. We call, therefore, for a new appeal for adherence to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, its signature and willingness on the part of the signatories to accept international inspection. We also plead for a speeding up of negotiations aimed at burning research and the use of chemical and biological weapons. In view of recent agreements on disarmament and the prospect of further progress, we appeal to all governments with sizable but declining arms industries to institute active policies for reconversion of these. Can we hope that this reconversion will be to the manufacture of products that will contribute to the health and welfare of their people? Such policies should be evolved and implemented with the advice of bodies which include progressive industrialists and not only those from armament manufacturers. Together with workers' representatives and government officials, the conversion policies should be shaped in full recognition of the changing nature of industry and with due regard to the constraints imposed by earth warming and other environmental hazards. In all such schemes, an essential element should be the setting up of restraining schemes to fit workers with the necessary new skills. In considering the redeployment of financial and other resources set free by diminished military expenditure, governments should give priority to the improvement of the social structure. In particular, great efforts are required to improve the quality of education to provide their citizens with the knowledge and skills necessary to allow fulfillment in work, leisure in the new world which is emerging. In the striving for world harmony, part of the resources should be used to augment existing assistance to development and the alleviation of world poverty. The present historical situation of détente should be used to make visible and curtail the evils of the arms trade. In 1986, the president of the Club of Rome, on the basis of a memorandum by Edward Pestel, sent to President Reagan and General Secretary Gorbachev a proposal for joint action of the two superpowers to limit the sale of arms to the poorer countries. While there was only a formal agreement from the White House, a personal and constructive reply was sent by Mr. Gorbachev, followed by a memorandum of further reflection. The correspondence was given full coverage by the press and TV in the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, but was hardly noticed by the press in the West. It seems to us that the time is ripe to revive this proposal, not only with the United States and the Soviet Union, but with other major arms exporting countries. Recent events demonstrate the futility of the evil trade and how it can have a lethal backlash when the turn of events gives rise to unforeseen conflicts. One has only to cite the success of the French-manufactured Exocet missiles in sinking British battleships during the Falklands War, or the situation with the troops of Western and Arab countries in Saudi Arabia facing sophisticated Iraqi weapons sold to them by the Russians, the French, and the British, among others. To sell guns for immediate monetary gain to buyers who may intend to kill the seller seems to be an ultimate insanity. Special attention and visibility should be given to the situation of military research and development as described above. In the long run, if the security of the planet is to be assured, the manufacture of arms for the economic gain of individuals or countries will have to be controlled. Residual needs for world policing will have to be provided under the authority of the United Nations. This may not be for tomorrow. Nevertheless, there is a need for an early review of the whole problem. All the more so that the confrontations in the Persian Gulf will have long-term consequences. towards an environment for survival. Most of the successful activity of recent years for the protection of the environment has been in reducing or eliminating pollution and other forms of deterioration. It has been curative rather than preventative. While this must continue, the main emphasis in the future must be in preventing the development of the macro pollutions, which we have described earlier, to the level at which their efforts are irreversible. By far, the most urgent of these is earth warming, which threatens the global economic and social system. Prevention of this represents one of the greatest challenges which humanity has faced and demands a total and international effort. 4 paths of attack are required. Bullet number 1, reduction of the global emission of carbon dioxide, which will necessitate less use of fossil fuels. Bullet 2, reforestation, especially in the tropics. Bullet 3, development of alternative forms of energy. Bullet 4, conservation of energy and development of greater efficiency in its use. We shall base our discussion of the carbon dioxide situation on the Toronto Changing Atmosphere target of the need to reduce emission of this gas by 20% by the year 2005. However, in accepting the urgent need of the developing countries to provide energy for their citizens, their agriculture, and their industries, the industrialized countries will have to make even larger percentage reductions in their use of fossil fuels, let us say 30%. Moreover, recent estimates indicate that this is a very conservative figure. Initially, the highest priority must be given to energy conservation and efficiency in the transmission and use of energy in every sector of the economy. There are very large potential savings to be made, which would in any case be economically useful and strategically necessary in view of the vulnerability of the industrial countries to the cutting off of oil supplies. In general, the market forces should be helpful here, but at present incentives are insufficient and will have to be increased. There are also many non-market barriers to energy conservation. In the domestic sector, for example, it is noticeable that per capita consumption of energy in the United States and Canada is about double that of the Western European countries, with an approximately equivalent standard of living. To achieve the necessary savings here will require fundamental changes in the habits of millions of inhabitants, a question to which we shall return later. The immediate need, therefore, is for the launching of massive and worldwide campaign to promote energy conservation and efficiency of use. This alone can give us some breathing space in order to face up to the more intractable problems of industrial adjustment. To be successful, it will need a clearly expressed political will on the part of governments and strong public support. Switching from oil and coal to other energies is also suggested, but there are few alternatives which could be brought into use quickly apart from natural gas. This has the advantage that the methane molecule in combustion produces less CO2 per unit of energy generated as compared with the longer chain of hydrocarbons of oil and coal. Conversion to natural gas is relatively simple, so this may be a useful measure, although great care would have to be taken to prevent leakage, since methane is itself a greenhouse gas, molecule by molecule, much more active than carbon dioxide, and we'll pick up in the next video.